From the information that you have gleaned from news reports, from your own knowledge as well, what do you think has happened here, and what's your kind of best hope?
So I think firstly, thoughts are with the families as they wait in these uncertain times. I'm a realist about all these things, and I think in reality what's happened is there's been some form of mechanical failure, which has resulted in potentially a catastrophe for the submersible itself. As your previous speaker said, trying to return to the surface is exceptionally difficult challenge to get back up there, and if they're not up there now, it will be unlikely that they get up there in the near future, particularly as the time is running out on air.
And can people get down to them?
So it's amazing. The world submarine services all work together when they conduct rescues from submarines, and we have amazingly smart rescue vehicles that can go and conduct these. But the depths that they're operating at preclude the use of those systems.
Right, goodness me. And you said some sort of mechanical failure. What kind of thing can go wrong?
Well, I think it could be a variety. So when you look at the construction of I preclude investigations that will come with this, but the construction of the vessel itself, operating at those depths, I don't know how rigorous the standards were that were followed when they constructed that. So it could have been a mechanical fault in some of the equipment. It could have been an electrical failure. It could have been a fault in the design itself that's caused the problem.
And how familiar are you with the inside of one of these submersibles?
So I've been inside the rescue submersibles that go to conduct rescues on board submarines, so I know what they look like
Mm.
inside. This is considerably smaller, and from the YouTube footage, you can see that it's a very sparse environment. It's not built for comfort. It's not really built for continued survival either. So if you imagine five people in something that small, consuming oxygen, but also the oxygen is one part of it. It's actually the exhalation of carbon dioxide that becomes the real problem. And what I didn't see when I looked around was anything that dealt with extraction of carbon dioxide.
Right, goodness me. And what? How? I mean, how big is it? And can they see out?
So it's got one window which allows them to see out, but there is very little room inside that at all. It is very cramped conditions for five individuals, one pilot and those that are going down to see the Titanic.
And how does the pilot operate it? Someone mentioned earlier some kind of games console type thing.
Yeah, so that was probably the surprising bit in the YouTube footage. So most submersibles, you have a pilot who actually pilots it properly. So it's got controls very much like a an aircraft. And in this particular case, or in that particular footage, it's all done by what appears to be an Xbox console. Sorry, an Xbox controller.
Mm.
That doesn't mean that that's wrong or right, but that seems to be a strange way to do that.
Um, yes. When you're involved in this, obviously, you're an expert. You kind of know what you're doing. There is at least one expert involved in this, but is there added risk because some of these people are not? I don't know how to put this. They're not trained in the way that you are, for example. Does that make it more dangerous?
Well, so in submarines, but in operational submarines, that is a risk. So those that don't understand the platform themselves, those that haven't conducted the training, carry an inherent additional risk. But there are a variety of operators who use. I mean, you can go to the Caribbean and go on board one of those yellow submarines and go and view at very shallow depths, and none of the people in there are trained. The piece for me is that this is extreme beyond belief to go down so deep with no training. But there again, Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson have been taking people into space with very little training.
A lot of our audience getting in touch, and it's not something you talk about on a day-to-day basis. It's not our world, and this seems incredibly risky. But then perhaps that's just what adventurers do. That's the clues in the name. Do you have any concerns about this kind of recreational exploration?
So I agree. Adventurers, I mean, they push the limits of absolutely everything, don't they, to see what the human body can do and see what they can do and build up those experiences. And I don't think we should temper that. I think for me, the risk management of taking that particular trip, I would have, if I was an adventurer, I'd really want to know that, full safety case, everything else that goes with ensuring that I come back from that adventure successfully. And in this particular case, when you look at weather windows, everything else, I don't know how well that was followed.